Right, we're going to begin Chapter 8 on the structural items in Revit for Architecture 2021, no experience required, and University of Montana Fall 2021 semester. We're going to be starting with the basic functions of structural architecture. We'll have you open up the no experience required 08 file that I provided in Moodle, and we'll get going on it. As we learned recently from some industrial industry visits, a lot of times the architectural model gets created first. The exterior walls, the roofs, floors, the general aesthetics of the building, and the appearance of it, the size, the spatial components to a certain point. And then a lot of times what the best workflow is at that point later on is to open up a structural design at that point. Now, that can mean a few things. Let's go into my PC here and open up a project that I've worked on in the past, just with the structural skeleton. And we're going to start shortly on page 372, making a grid. So one of the first things we do is we make a grid for our structural items. Structural engineering, it's one of the most important things as starting points is certainly the grid. They're essentially placed one line at a time in Revit, but we make quick work and copy and move them over as we're going to do here in this first part of this chapter. So as this opens up, I'm just going to give you a quick look at a structural frame in a 3D view, some framing, and kind of the bones of the building, really, right? So it's the stuff that, from your foundations to our trusses and our braces and our beams and our columns and our piles and footings. This is a good visual of a structural building. It's kind of the bones of the building, okay? We have our structural framing up here on the roof, built out. And the rest of the building you can kind of see in the background, hidden at the moment. This is just giving you kind of a quick overview. We got our foundation wall and our footing, and some piers and some spread footings connected to the roof. So this is just an overview of another building. The bones that connect with in the 3D view are architectural plans. So let's go back to our project. We'll close that one, and we don't need to save it right now. We'll start with making a grid. So the first thing we're going to do is go to floor plan level 1. And we're going to begin by our new commands for us is in this book is adding a grid, the basis of most architectural and structural and mechanical drawings. So we're going to zoom into the east, and we're going to start by adding a grid line. Looks like on this side of the building right over here. And it wants us to add it in the middle of the wall. So let's first make sure we have grid selected, which we just did. And let's hover to the wall. Let's make sure we pick in the middle of the wall. Let's say pick lines in this case will be fine. We don't have to do this. We could just do one line. And here it has us do the whole pick line, so we can just grab the entire middle of the wall. Let's pick it here. And it's going to start us off with our first grid of the west wall. And we're going to have to adjust it. So let's hit escape twice, which I just did. 3D meaning that it's in all views for the most part in general. 2D meaning it's specific to a view. 3D, it's more of a model item. So I use this grip to move and slide. This checkbox to turn it on and off. We still have only the grid 1/4 inch bubble selected. Let's see where the other end is. There it is. You can kind of see it there a little better. slide that out. Just be kind of generous, democratic where we pull that out there. That looks okay. Could probably even slide a little more. Don't have to be precise. Turn that side on. Now we have our first grid. And this is in the, you could say, we're going to build this in the X direction. So we're going to continue this way. Now we'll move to page 375 and on from there. And we're going to select grid 1. And we're going to do the copy. Not that copy to clipboard. We're going to do the copy here, the basic CO command. And I'm just going to pick a random point out in space. I could pick maybe here, as long as I get the right distance. Okay, so let's start by copying again. The key is to get the base point. So on the copy command, enter a move start point. And we're going to make sure constrain and multiples on. And let's grab its start point. Let's slide it to this interior wall, which is on page 376. Make sure I got the right interior wall. Let's go to the center. There. It leveled up to 2 automatically. And let's continue on to the picture on figure 8.7, doing grid line 3, grid line 4 to the center. Grid line 5 to the center of this interior partition wall, and grid line 6, this center, not to the center of core of this exterior wall. Okay. Just making sure I got grid line 6, that looks good. And we'll have our 6 first grid lines, and they match each other because I copied what I wanted and I got that started in the right foot. We still have the grid. We don't. You could have kept it running, but we'll do another one with 2 lines. This one, or you could click on grid 6, for example, and say create similar. Either way, and we're going to have the line command open. And for grid 7, it's mostly going to help you to really look at the picture on 378, and myself included. We're really going to try to get it in this really particular spot here, that really zoomed in photo on 378. I'm going to get the endpoint in the middle of the exterior of the radial wall. Let me bring this point, could even bring it up this way, and I'll use my grips to bring it down to the south later. And if you hover here, they automatically align. Escape twice. Let me turn that grid on. Let me pull the grip here. You can break them as well, which we're going to do later to give them jogs. Escape on that, 2 escapes. Try to select that grip. Sometimes it's hard to grab them if they're in the interior here. So I'm going to turn off my select elements by face, so I don't keep selecting my wall, or excuse me, my floor. It likes to select my floor sometimes with these. Let's move this down. Let's align it. Generally, these grids stay pretty lined up in most well set up drawings. Revit likes to do that. So we have that grid. And now we're going to start grids on the more or less the Y dimension going this way. And they're going to be alpha characters. They're going to be A through F for now. We'll go to the east side of the building on figure 8.810, getting our first horizontal grid. We got our vertical grids already. Let me just click, right click, and say create similar. Let's take a quick look at our options. No offset needed, but we will say pick lines. And we'll pick, once again, the center line of this exterior wall. Okay, got that. grip went over here, kind of tricked me out. I was expecting something to pop up over here. You got to kind of watch where they go sometimes. Pull this side out to the left, pull this side out to the right. Even further, let's go out about here. And let's rename this grid to alpha, A. Okay. And let's get it to resemble the figure on 8.12, which I've already done. Let's add a few grids from A to F, congruous to the figure on 8.13, which is on your textbook page 381. So however you want to do that, you can make a new one, or we can say create similar. Let me queue up that so I get them on all the right parts, the wall. I believe this one wants the midpoint of this exterior wall. Yep. So we'll have to do that over here. Probably be the easiest. Sure, pick walls on. This one, we're just going to do one at a time. Once they're made, they're pretty automatic. So this is where having this turned off helps a lot. Otherwise, I sometimes have a hard time getting it quickly. I can always use filters to select. But in this case, I'm just going to turn this select face off. Select my grid out here. Use my grips. And let's do our copy command again. This is quite in the center anymore. Let's redo that. Can even try this again. Actually, no, that was fine. It's not supposed to line up with this interior wall. Let's hit redo. It's supposed to line up. We'll have it line up with this exterior wall. That's the way I'm seeing it in the book, and that's fine for now. Makes sense, being most structural things will be on the exterior of our building, so that's what we're really adding these grids about. The interior, not as much. There won't be as the main load-bearing walls in this design. So let's start by copying this instead, in this case. And we're going to add this one to the interior walls. So let's grab that one by intersection. Let's hover to the midpoint of this interior wall, the midpoint of this interior wall, and they're numbering up. And for E, let's try to hover to the center of this wall. Might not be as easy, this one. Don't think so this time. The copy command. Let's just make another one. Grid, say pick line. Let's hover on this exterior wall for our grid E. Let's turn it on this side. Let's use our grips. Since I didn't make those consecutively, they're not snapping to my former ones as quickly. There they go, though. This one actually looks good, too. It'll queue up this one, and then it aligns with the rest. Let's make our last one. Good. Pick line, exterior wall, center of wall. Let's turn on both sides if they're not already. They usually shouldn't be. So we got our grids going through page 381. We're going to try adding a radial grid, G, which is kind of a unique, unique shape. So let's try to create similar again. On the draw panel this time, we're going to say pick lines again, but let's go here, take the F, right, similar. This time, let's put a 6-inch offset and say pick line again. And we want to select the inside face of the radial wall right here, okay? And we want this to come out to this side. As you can see, my dashed line wants to do there, not this side. So there we go right there. That should say G, and it does. Let's grip it, make it come out a little ways so it's easier to see. Let's turn it on this end. So this is literally a grid line along the radial wall as its constraint. We're going to add a couple more grid lines at 45-degree angles from the center of the radial wall to the outside. So we'll start at the center. So let's do that. And we're going to snap to the center of this radial wall, which sometimes is tricky, getting all the things to go to what you want. So we're going to type in SC for snap center, which that's the icon I'm looking for. First point. And let's watch our blue. Wants to go to H, which is what we want. Let's say 45 degrees. It's lined up, good enough. H, let's do the same. Our next one. My place grid command still active. Let's type in SC again. Go to the center. Center of all these items should be one and the same. The grid, the wall. As you can see, it highlights. Do the same here. 45 degrees. Let's bring it in a little like so. And let's rename these to D1 and D9. Also do here. Okay, we got most of our grids created. We're gonna take a look at some options that we did before. We can jog them like so. Just move them where we need to suit a view. This one we would have to bring out a little further. Let's go back, undo that. And that's our finished grids for the east side of the building. As we get to page 385, we're gonna go into the next item. We're gonna add some structural columns with Revit, and generally columns are the vertical sense. So in the Z dimension, elevation, same. Structural variety and architectural column. These ones, we're gonna stick to architectural columns for now. So let's stay on level 1 floor plan, and we're gonna go to the radial entry east wing. We're here, and I'm gonna go through this surgically here because we got to go add a lot of these structural components. We got to add through families, so I'll go real slow through this. Let's go back to column. You can find this in the architectural or structural tab in this certain item. This one just picks structural column. This one you have 2. Okay, so let's just stick to structural column or tab for now. Column. And first thing we're going to do is load the family columns, and we're going to go to on the page, top of page 387. Use my keyboard to help me out. Steel. HSS hollow. So look at your preview. It helps too over here. We're going to get HSS hollow structural section column RFA. It's the round. We want the rectangular. Easy to grab the wrong one there. Open. And we're going to get a very specific size on our page 387 as well. We're going to do HSS 6 by 6 by 5/8. So they'll cascade in order by the first number. 6 by 6 by 5/8. There we go. Okay. Ready to place grids. Okay. There's gonna be some tricks on here, which we'll show you soon. In the options bar, we'll first start with setting height. As they go up, depth is more of a, they go down with when we'll see with footings and piers. Say height. In this case, our height will be set to roof, the roof level. And that's the only options we're going to select. Let's place just our first column at grid intersection A1. I'll zoom way in here. We're going to do just one manually. So where A and 1 merge, or intersect, I should say, right here. It lights up, everything blue. Place that column, structural column. And now we're going to use a more advanced command, but a quicker, more efficient command. Make sure our height's still set to roof, which is very important. And this is our next most important new command, add grids. So we're ready to add them about our grids. So on the picture in 389, it kind of shows it too, what I'm about to do. It says select grid lines to place structural columns at intersection point, or intersection points. Our status bar is telling us what to do. Let's select all these grids. Just let it do its thing. It has them all. There's going to be some redundant ones we're going to have to move around in a minute. We're ready to finish the edit. Let's go take a look. Were they all placed? Escape. And hit escape again. Let's clean up some of these. So here, we're going to clean up this column, select, delete, and this column. We're only going to leave these two. Oh, didn't want to select the text with leader. We're going to leave those two in that case. And in the middle, so up here too begs to ask if there was 2 set here since we did this one twice. There wasn't. So it was smart enough not to add a second one here. I only see 1 selected, 1 in my filter. Worth checking though. These we want to move over 4 feet to these corners and these corners. So these 2 I have selected, they're in blue as anything. And I have my contextual ribbon up here, structural columns. I'm going to move these. Move command. I'm just going to pick wherever. I just know that it's 4 feet. You might have to do some measurements to figure this out first time, or depending on what your design is. Hit escape. Grab these again. Move. Pick wherever, as long as I have 4 feet. I know that's what it needs here. Like I said, you might have to use more creative methods to get that exact. Let's take a look at a different area. We're going to move on to structural framing, which in this case, we're going to add some small canopies with light structural framing in one little area. Our architect might do a little bit of structural design, a little light structural design, right? And they're going to be beams. So think of beams more, the connectors between the columns and generally in each horizontal level. That's not a perfect description of what a beam is, but just think of them like that. So in this design, here's your columns. Here's your beams. And here's your floor connecting to those beams. Here's some framing in between your beams and columns for structural stability. So we'll be adding some beams. We're not going to add any advanced connections in between, but just for now, these are just I-beam types of structural framing, W flange beams and W flange columns in this case of steel. But let's go back to our drawing, level 1. And we're going to add our first beam in the structural tab. This is a new command. So we're going to do it up here in this area. Let's see if I can get it in one try. This one I don't believe you can do anywhere in the Architect tab. Like I said, some things you can. Structural column, structural wall, for example. Some of the floor. And nothing really major on the roof. Anyway, let's go back to Structure tab. Pick beam. And once again, we're going to load family. And actually, I forgot to do one thing. Before we do this, let's go to level 2. So really our beams are going to be placed on level 2. They're going to be, consider it like this. So let's say this is level 1. I'll be working on the next level up. So I got to do that first. So that's where we'll be drafting, okay? Back at the lesson at hand here. Let's leave to level 2. I almost forgot to do this. And you can still see our columns here. Now, I'm going to reoccurring theme here on level 2. I'm going to change one thing on my properties box of the view range, which we have been doing a lot. Views don't always go exactly the direction you want them to, so you have to tell them sometimes to do what you want to show things. In this case, I'm going to make the bottom level 2 go down a foot. These are our 2 settings to get them to show the way we want. Hit OK. And that's the whole reason we did that step, so we could make sure the columns were showing in the proper way. And we'll do that in later steps in this chapter. Columns A7 and F7. So this is A7. And F7. They're on the outside of the building. So we're going to be drafting about these columns. Actually, this one, let's turn that on. So these are columns on the outside of the building. It's our main backbone of what we're about to do. Let's select these. 2 columns selected. We're going to set the top level to level 2. Let's see what happens when I didn't. So let's say level 4. See, they're pretty high. Shrink them down to here. Let's check that out again. It's easy to miss that in this phase until you go to 3D. It's a lot different to see what we did. So there we go. They're down to about the awning we're going to build. Columns. Back to level 2. And we're ready to finally move on. Step I almost missed. Structure, beam. And we're going to do the same as we did with the columns in some ways. Go to load family. Let's go back a couple to US Imperial home base for our default Revit families. Let's go to structural framing, steel, and HSS hollow structural section. Easy to grab the round one. Just watch that. Square one, hit OK. Here's our types or sizes. We're going to pick the HSS 6x6 by 5 5/8. It is. Okay. Matching our columns somewhat for design. On to 394, very surgically, we'll pick points 1 and 2 between columns A6 and A7. Okay. And we'll do midpoints. I'll go slow on this one. Right here. Making sure my options were selected correct. I believe they were. We can double check in 3D view, which is always good. Here. Let's draw down onto page 395. And we will go, still have the beam command running, options the same, structural beam. And there's another one to draw. We're going to draw a beam 6 inches off the finished face of the wall, starting at the top beam and ending on column B. So let's see how I want to do this. I'm just gonna, this part's a little tough, but they give you a good picture. So I'm gonna start by just hovering here, dragging this way. Well, looking at my temporary dimension, it looks like it's going to face the building. Let's zoom out a little so we can see it. I'm gonna hover till it says 6 inches exactly. Let's go to the nearest inch. That's what I want. It's a little tricky. And for point 2, just go to the intersection here. Keep it horizontal. See, it kind of matches up with this line here as it goes. Right there. Okay. Hit escape. Let's check it in 3D, make sure it looks somewhat all right. Good to me. That's about what it should look like. Columns and our beams. Escape once. You can go back to level 2. Easy to go miss things if you stay in the top view in the floor plan. 3D view is your friend a lot in this case. Let's add a beam system now. If you draw your framing to and from beam center line, Revit won't always keep your connection points. Sometimes you have to trim. It'll trim the beam back for you. We'll get into this at another time maybe, but there's a beam columns joins tool in the geometry panel of the modify tab, which is right here. Get some more advanced how beams connect to each other, beams and columns. And this can be a very important tool to get them to cut back to a shorter beam and how they'll butt with each other. With a few exceptions, it says columns cut back as beams. Okay, so keep in mind, we're not going to get into that in this chapter, but go back. We're going to make a beam system to fill out our little awning here. And another new command, structure tab, beam system. Make sure several things are on here. Looking at all of them, I'm almost not seeing quite all the same commands. I'm looking for tags here. Try that again. Close. We'll save the file. check my settings on this beam system first. Cancel that for now. Not getting all the same options there. Try this file. It's maybe because I'm in 3D view there. There was one beam I didn't do. Which I got there. So I should have 4 beams now. One way to tell, crossbox here, do filter. Definitely have structural framing in there. I just selected that instead of the wall. There we go. Don't know why this didn't turn on before. It's probably because I didn't have it connected. It didn't find the system. Now it does. It automatically turned on. I was looking for this option, take on placement, and all these other options. I wasn't seeing them when I turned on beam system. So I was a little confused. When I started beam system, I was not getting all these options up here. So that threw me off for a minute. I was just making sure I had everything. So make sure you got this beam, this beam, this beam, and this beam. Seem to fix it. So let me get all my options. There's at least 6 of them. So let's make sure, first of all, this is on. Tag on placements on. We got the same beam type there. Let's leave justification the way it is. On center, let's leave layout rule. Justification really is maximum spacing. 4. And on the last bit, let's change this tag style to framing for this case. That's 6 or 7 options we got to check. Here, 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 here. Easy to miss one. Really carefully, we're going to hover over this beam right there until we see them populating to the bottom. Left data click. And there's our framing of the canopy. Placed our framing. My label doesn't look exactly like the book, and that's fine. We'll continue on. Let's check in 3D mode. And that's what we should have here. And let's take what we've created. Stay back in level 2. Select it a little more. Filter. Use the power of the filter. Check none. Let's select everything. Basically, we can select anything structural. They just want us to select certain things. So they got girder, joist, and beam systems. Okay. So we already have our columns on both sides, so we don't need to copy those twice. And wants us to mirror them, our favorite command, mirror pick axis. And there we go. 3D view. 2 structural awnings. Just checking my work. Back to level 2. Let's add some bracing. Some various areas, and this is going to kind of go in this area in the roof. We'll add it here to here, here. We'll see what that means in a minute. We're going to add basically a rod to the top of the canopy at an angle and go out. We'll start by going to the Insert tab. In this case, we're going to load up families directly, go right to it, go back a couple, and we're going to structural framing, steel. Use the preview to your advantage, especially if you're picking things and unsure of what it might look like. For round brass. Round bars. There we are. Okay. And the size, RB 1 1/2. Diameter. Okay. So they have us going to the north elevation to place the first one, and that's fine. When we go to the north elevation, let's see what happens with how it appears for us. North, really, not really wanting to go to that elevation that bad. Could easily just go like this to north. Okay. Let's turn this a little more fine, shaded, so we can more easily see. That helps. Go in here. I was looking at it, it looked like just a big brick wall. So we have our family loaded. I already did that from the insert. Let's go to structure, brace, diagonal structural members connected to beams and columns, very typical structural component. They attach themselves to beams and columns and adjust parametrically to change with the buildings according to the building design. So let's find where we're going to go, grid A. Okay. And we're going to start by picking, make sure that's the bar we just picked. We loaded it up from our family. Now it's in here. We had a few things in here now, not that many. We've only placed a few things, but that is indeed what we want. Let's start by hovering and adding, just guesstimate. Somewhere in here is fine. Doesn't say be precise on this. And we'll pick the endpoint right here for a brace. That's what it wants. And that one's looking good. It's easy to mess that step up where you go on here, and having the shading and the fine level of detail helps a lot to see this small detailed area. Let's go back to level 2. Let's add something. So I kind of like what they do on this. They add a very specific elevation view right here to really look at this so that we can draft in this brace basically accurately. So let's go to view, elevation, framing elevation. And doesn't need to be an interior elevation. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm going to hover over this grid line until this looks on this side. I want it to look at this way. It's elevation view. Left data click. Let's click it. Let's rename it. Very specific view. Framing at north east canopy. I do this to get really surgical with drafting some stuff in. Let's double click the view. It goes to it. Don't need to see that far over, but basically it's we're concentrated down here. So let's once again change it to a little more dynamic of a view for appearances. I might even slide this out a little bit. That's fine on this side. I know this is the exterior wall here I was looking at, and I'm going to hit Control Z, undo. Let's add another structural brace now that we're dialed in to where we want it to go. Still got our same family part, round bar, RB 1 1/2. Let's just add this one in close-ish as well. Let's pick this side right there. We can even hover and say, let's say it's 5 feet. And endpoint right there. Hit escape. There we go. And so we can close this new elevation view we made. This helped us draft it in easier. It's in here now. We made it right here. We'll close that too. Got that side done. Our braces, let's put it in 3D mode. How it should look. Now let's mirror over what we've done. Level 2. A little harder to grab those ones. Let's try that. Grabbing one, Control, grabbing both. 2 of them selected. Okay. Modify. Mirror pick axis. Axis of rotation. Be right here. Enter. Escape. They're in here. 3D view. Got them mirrored. Both sides. We're good on that step. And good time to save your model. We're going to jump into foundations, foundation systems. So a lot of times foundations are, very, very exclusive to civil engineers, but an architect will lay them out a bit, and a structural engineer will take them and finish them out, flesh them out, make sure they're functional, make sure they work they'll copy the architects and then monitor it and edit it closely from that point. So they make it their own. They make it, they're free to alter what the architect has started is a very common thing. And the same thing with civil engineering. A lot of times the architect will initially lay out an entire building site plan with a parking lot, and the civil engineer will take it to fruition and completion with everything needed. Similar with foundations. So as you see on this drawing, we got some foundations and some footings, some piers, no basements. Turn this on, shaded. That's essentially what we're about to embark on. Let's go back to level 1. And it says we're going to turn off the grids just temporarily. This is a new command. We'll select just one of them. And we're going to use in our view control area temporary hide and isolate. We're going to say hide just this category. And a blue shade will come, or ring will come around the view. It's only temporary. We're turning off the grid. It's just showing us how to do this. It helps us see things. It's just another trick to temporarily turn things on and off instead of more of a permanent freeze thaw kind of thing. We're going to start on page 406, and we're going to start by building a structural wall. So you can do that one on architecture tab or structure tab, but we'll just do it on the structure tab. And let's start with, we have quite a few walls in here. Let's start with what we begin with. Foundation 12-inch concrete. There, I found it. We're going to edit the material inside first. Start with that. And we're going to use this as our base point, 12-inch concrete. We're going to call this, as you've been seeing, this is also, as well as changing the view controls, as this has been helping a lot. We've been editing existing assemblies. Here, only thing we really change is the structure to 18 inches, 1 foot 6 inches. And I think that is it. Okay. Okay. We're about to place a wall under this level. And our view currently, this is also happening again, our view controls is not set to show anything below this level, level 1 being this level. So we got to alter the view range once again. So we have our wall ready to go. Let's hit escape twice. Back to the floor plan, properties, which we're getting used to this. And I'm going to change the view range so it shows below once we make these footings, or these foundation walls, I should say. And bottom offset to -1 and view depth -1. Otherwise our footing won't show at all. This view we want it to. So turn that how we wanted. Page 408. Let's start by building our wall now. Lines. So foundation walls are a little different. Columns are placed top down. So depth rather than height appears. And that's our only option in this case. Let's set our depth to, very important here, top of footing level. Justification, wall center line is all good. Offset can be left alone. This is a little bit of a tricky part, and I'll see if I can get through it as well as I did the first time. We're going to pick the center line of all exterior walls. So everything on similar to 8.52, corridor, both wings, everything. So we do this slow. Let me hover in here first and make sure I'm on the center. Start with this one. I hit the tab button. Accepted those. Hit the tab button, accepted these three. It's going to make a wall in here, and that's fine in this case. Hover in here, make sure I get the center right there. Tab. Don't really want this wall. So maybe this one, this is where I accidentally, when I said tab on this, didn't want the interior wall to the right here, or to the left, excuse me. In this case, I might have to do these ones one at a time, or delete out the wall I don't want later. But I'm going to do these ones one at a time in the corridor, just to avoid this wall. Center of wall, not center of core. Okay. And now let's grab the east side of the building. Hover in here. Hovering on center. This is a tricky part, getting all these in one swoop. Tab. Try that again. It's hard to get it all with seeing it all lit up. Right there. So I got some overlap there. Let's see what happened. Let's go through these warnings. X. Let's see what it looks like in 3D. Hit escape twice. So it kind of cheated and went over here. I didn't get these walls, so I'll have to do a little bit over again. I don't want that wall. Or do I? No, I don't. Let's just say I don't. This one I do want. This one I do want. Just looking at my foundation wall, so I missed some stuff here. Let's see where this one all goes to. Let's delete that 18-inch wall out. I didn't want it there. Same with this one, I'm hovering over it. I saw it's the right one, not the interior one. Join. This is a little bit tricky to get them all at once. I was trying to hover and grab them all and I couldn't see over here. Let's try it again. Pick line. Still wants to grab this wall. I don't want that. Sometimes you might have to do this one at a time. I'm just gonna do these ones one at a time. This wall. This wall. Up to here, and this one. That should be it. Give it a second. 3D. There we go. It still might have grabbed these. Yeah, it did. Delete. It's tricky to get them all at once. That's okay. Now I think I got almost all of them. Save for one. Got a pile in here. Overlapping. There we go. So you might have to do a little cleanup. Now I have everything. To my top of foundation, top of footing, excuse me, we haven't made our footing yet. We just made our foundation wall to the top of footing. There we go. 3D view is very valuable in this circumstance. Just to evaluate what you've all grabbed, if anything. Okay. Let's add the footings now. So we'll put the footings underneath them. This view isn't really set up to see what's physically below them, so we got to mess with the view one more time. This time, let's turn off level 2. I think we're done with that one. Let's do this. Collapse all. Views, floor plans. We're going to go to the top of footing view this time. This view, we're going to have to do some tweaking as well. So I might start by turning this on fine again. And we're also going to have to make this view range here, the floor plan, top of wall footing, top of footing. On 410, let's make this go down unlimited, similar to what we did for roofs, so we can see when stuff accumulates below it. Essentially what we're doing. Good to go there. Let's go to structure. This is a new command also. We're going to build the foundation, or the footing, I should say. Go here. Structural foundation wall. And let's see what we got. Our footing here, we're going to change that once again to a 30 by 12 instead of a 36 by 12. So we're going to start with, this one is fine. Just a couple different sizes, bearing, load bearing footing and retaining footing. So your typical retaining wall or your bearing wall with more compression, like as in a building. So we'll start with that one. We got just a couple basic types to edit. Duplicate. Let's take the 2 off. This one will be 30 inches, 12 inches. And the width. It's only 2 feet 6 inches wide, 30 inches wide, 12 inches deep or thick. Okay, that's really all we do here. So we got a new bearing foundation or footing. We'll use that. Let's start picking the walls. And we're going to pick everything but the elevator shaft walls. So kind of similar to what we did already. Those are interior walls. So the 3D view will be huge again. We're just going to have to go slow. Tab here. This one's a little easier than the last one. You can see it populate because we changed our view range. You can see it happening. Hover, tab, select. Hover, tab, select. Hover, tab. This one, maybe not, because I don't want it to pick interiors. Let's do one at a time. Okay. Interesting, it wouldn't let that grip exactly do that. I'll let that go for now. See our footing, we could drag, can edit it after the fact. I'll just leave it. Let's check in 3D. It's looking good. Nothing on elevator shafts. All our walls have a footing underneath them. For our foundation. Go back. We're going to add some structural slabs underneath, just basically a thickened floor, in this case, a slab. It's like a slab on grade of a bigger, you know, like a building. A lot of times it might be a 12-inch slab on top of some other earth materials or base course and then a subcourse, but you might have a slab of 12 inches of concrete, let's say. So we're going to build that right now, back to the top of foundation, floor plan, top of footing floor plan. Let's go to the elevators. New command here as well. Structure, slab, not a thickened edge slab, which is very representative of this. Certain floors and areas that need strength, even sidewalks you build in civil settings need thickened edges, but in this case, we're just going to do a straight slab. And properties, we're going to change this default one as we've been getting used to doing. Duplicate. I got 12-inch thick foundation slab. Okay. Edit in this case, structure. We'll just change to 1 foot. Okay. Okay. And we're ready to draw. We're in sketch mode. And we're doing about the elevator shaft walls. So let's first set it to 6-inch offset as it extends out. And we'll make sure we have our walls picked. Pick wall. Outside, outside, outside. This one got me a little bit messed up for say 0. Extend into wall course, fine. And we'll do the pick lines this time. No offset with the interior ones. I had to make a bunch of lines here. Honestly, it almost looks like the final view of the slab looks something like this. And it'll be good enough for now. So this one, I'm just going to turn off the interior ones because I want the slab to be the entire bottom area. In this case, it's almost as if they wanted this. So we almost have a U shape. Trim to corner. I want to keep these two. Interesting. Testing my trim out again. Almost looked like they wanted a U shape like this. Not entirely sure of that. I thought it was just a whole slab underneath it. From the picture on the whole pad, it's definitely all filled in on 415. So go back to sketch mode, double clicking it. Let's fix that. Let's connect these up. Finish sketching. There we go. You know, I wish I had a reference plane in the middle, so I'm going to make one. Snap mid, boom. Just gonna make a quick one in this area. SM, snap mid. While I'm still in sketch mode, let me select my sketch. I like, mirror it. Mirror it about this. Escape. I do have one thing I don't like there. We can't have any gaps, overlaps, or extra stuff. This is extra, out. These should be closed polygons by this point. Okay, make them both at once. Showing below. Turn my select elements by face on again and select them. Let's look at it in 3D to check it. That's looking better. Made 12-inch thick concrete slabs underneath our elevator shafts to match in with our footings. There we go. We're going to add some piers and spread footings now to various areas of the building to give extra structural support in the interior and on the exterior as well. So on this drawing, we have some thickened piers, and we have different assemblies out here. X on that. Yes. Cancel. So we have some piles and some caps with some 4 piles and some piers out here, different types on this job. And we're going to add things like that for additional structural support to the bones of the building here. So let's start by going to top of footing plan, and we'll go to structure tab, column. We're going to load families again, go to structural columns, concrete. Back a couple. ST. Concrete in this case. And concrete rectangular column. Open. Check your preview. So my options for properties now, when I bring up columns ever again in this model, bringing them in one at a time, so to speak, in this case. We got 12 by 18. We're going to edit type once again. We'll duplicate it once again. This is going to be a 30-inch by 30-inch. Base and height, 2 feet 6 inches, 2 feet 6 inches. Okay. In this case, we're going to go right to our heavy hitter command at grid intersections. So we're going to create structural columns at the intersections of our selected grid we've already made to build the piers. Let's do that. And I'm going to box around all the grids. 418, like so. And finish. They've appeared. One can't quite see them. And on level 1, I'm going to turn this off. There we go. You can see them now because they're associated with the grids. We'll go to top of footing plan. We got to turn some of these grids off on our footing plan. They didn't quite make it all the way. There's probably a quicker way to extend the view than this. Showing you one way. Was mentioned earlier in the chapter. So we're going to move some piers around. We'll need to do level 1 for this because we actually are on a floor with some walls. Oops, I don't want to select. Let's turn this select face back off again. so I can easily select these. I selected 2 of my concrete column, my piers. Let's move them. I'm just gonna move them freehand, just pick somewhere, and I know it's 4 feet. Type 4 feet. Same with these, cross box in the right direction. Make sure you only grab those piers. Move, pick somewhere in space, move to the right in this case. Watch my dimensions, 4 feet, escape. We're going to get rid of a few, just making some necessary edits. It went to all the grids, but yeah, it didn't do it perfect, but it did almost all the work for us. We'll move 3 of them there. Actually, I think I want to remove that one, yes. Redo. So we moved and removed what we needed via our level 1 floor plan to help us out. Back to this floor plan, top footing. And this is a new command as well. We're going to add through the isolated foundation button, little foundations, little footings on each of these piers. So you'll see them come up on the bottom of these. So we have our piers on the exterior wall and the interior points of the building on this side of the building. And also on our exterior framing we did earlier with some beams here. Top of footing, floor plan again. Structure tab, foundations. We're going to do structural foundation isolated spots. So isolated foundations attach the bottom of columns. They're associated with the bottoms of columns. So you might need to load a family before you can place them. A lot of our structural stuff we've been seeing, you need to load a family much more than some of the other architectural stuff. So yes to this. There's none. We need to load at least one. Go back a couple again. ST for structural. And in this case, structural foundations. Footing rectangular. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. It's open. It's literally the only one we have in here with a couple sizes. Say edit this type. Duplicate once again. Duplicate to this exact size, 42 inches by 42 inches, 12 inches foot. Okay. And this one, you could just type in 42 inches. It changes to feet, so you don't have to do the math. This one, you can just say 1, because you know it's 12 inches. Quick math. Okay, hit OK. Ready to place them. We're going to place them similar to what we did before. Add grids. Grab all the grids. This. Finish. Places them. Escape. 3D mode. I did the wrong direction. Try it again. Check my numbers here. Edit. Thickness is 12 inches. The width and length are 42 inches. This should be a lot more flat looking. Okay, we fixed that. Let's add them again. Grids. Entire grid. Finish. Escape twice. Let's check them again. Whoa. The third time's a charm here. Make sure I didn't do 42 feet, which I might have. Yes, I did. 42 inches. Should be 3 feet 6 inches. 42 inches. 3 feet 6 inches. Okay. One more time. Set grids. Grab the grid. There they go. The preview is looking pretty honest. That'll tell you everything you need to know usually, right? So yeah, it's even going to put them where we don't again, but it's okay. We got most of them done right away. Take a quick look at them. These are looking good. We got to delete and move some here and here. Let's do that. So we know these have to go 4 feet. We could go to floor plan level 1. We can just do it here. Select these. Move 4 feet. There we go. Let's delete these 3 isolated foundations. Check them. Good. Okay, that's getting close to the end of the chapter. We're going to do structural views at the very end. So one of the best ways they say to make structural views, which seems pretty good, is essentially get an architectural view dialed in, and then hide the non-essential items in that view. And being that most of the architectural design is done before structural, at least well on its way, that kind of makes sense too for the project flow. So we're going to go about this their way. Let's shut off that old model. For the example model. Close it. And let's mess around with some views in this chapter. So let's start by right-clicking. Let's collapse everything. Squash them down. It says let's grab all the structural plans and delete every one of them. Now, it's just starting over. We're going to go here, our floor plans, right-click, and we're going to say duplicate view. This is a new thing we haven't done yet. Duplicate view and duplicate with detailing. So we duplicated it. It's up right here with the detailing. So everything, we added in section views, maybe dimensions, whatever's in it generally. And we're in that view, copy. And we're going to change its discipline. First of all, it's structural in this case from architectural, not mechanical, electrical, or plumbing, MEP. And let's go to the top, browser organizer. We're going to rearrange these by discipline. We just changed this discipline to structural, so it'll move it there after we did that. So we have all of our stuff in architectural and structural. I kind of like how we did that there. Pretty neat. We could rename it to top of footing structural. So, we made them separate. Structural plan looks like a structural plan. It has most of what we need to start here. Footings, foundations, slabs of elevators, but we're going to go back to the architectural one. We haven't renamed it architectural, but we know it is. It's up here. We're going to make it more of a true architectural view in our eyes. So what that means is we're going to take some things off that we don't want to see. So we'll go back to our favorite place, view range, starting to find it much quicker. We'll change this offsets to 0. Let me just see if that does it here. That should do it there. So we're not going any lower. We're just showing actually what's on this level. So we're just saying to change the view exactly how an architect would show it. That's all. That was all that was really just saying. And that's the end of the chapter. You're better at structural grids, the backbone of any good structural engineer or design, adding columns and grid lines, columns to those grid lines, at different offsets, adding structural beams to a model with some braces. You added a couple of those and some beam systems in between a complete polygon, so to speak, of beams in between them. And braces, like I said before, you've added some foundation systems with foundation walls all around here, and some slabs and some piers and some isolated foundation walls under your piers. And that will conclude this chapter.